Hi, my name is Tenny. I'm an event coordinator for KCS Youth. Today is Juneteenth, June 19th. Juneteenth is an annual holiday that celebrates the freeing of African American slaves in Texas on June 19th, 1865. This was a great event in history, yet, centuries later, we still have the issue of racism, especially against Black people. KCS Youth is having a seminar on racism in our community on Saturday, June 27th from 6 p.m. The seminar is being held on Google Meet so that you can join from the safety and comfort of your home. I'm here with my friend Darshini Babu Ganesh. She's a Bharatanatyam dancer and a rising senior at Poolesville High School. Darshini has portrayed the poem A Brave and Startling Truth by Maya Angelou through Bharatanatyam. Hi Darshini, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Why did you want to do a dance about this topic?
So, as a dancer, I know about the impact of storytelling. Bharatanatyam in itself, it's pretty much all storytelling. And given a topic like this, we hear a lot of different statistics. Like, for instance, Black people are 3 times more likely to die at the hands of police than white people are. And while that's a very powerful statistic, it appeals like we pay attention to that statistic for maybe like a couple minutes or so, and then it just kind of leaves our mind. But when you spread a story, you force people to pay attention and draw connections between their own life and that person's story. That's why when we're talking about police brutality, we talk about those victims' names. We say George Floyd, we say Breonna Taylor, we say Tamir Rice. We want their stories to be heard because that is what forces people to move to action. It's what forces people to really think about it. For instance, Tamir Rice, he was a 12-year-old boy. That's the same age as my brother, and it is appalling to think that that kid who probably had so many dreams, had his whole life ahead of him, was killed. I can't see my brother as like the same way that no 12-year-old boy deserves to die. He didn't either. And when we share his story, when we talk about it like that, we force people to pay attention. And that's why I felt, because I am a dancer and I know the power of stories, I felt like that was my way to spread information about this topic and get people to listen.
That's very powerful. What made you choose A Brave and Startling Truth as the poem you wanted to express?
So I have seen other dances before that combine poetry and dance, and it's absolutely a beautiful combination. I've done it before as well. And given the topic, it only felt right to use a poem written by a Black author. And I absolutely love Maya Angelou's poetry. She's the one who wrote A Brave and Startling Truth. And her words are so powerful. If you haven't heard her recite her poems before, her voice is the definition of strong and gentle. And I wanted to depict the problem, but also have the poem not only talk about the problem, but also talk about the solution. And her poem is talking about like when we come to it. So what is that it we're talking about? It's when we realize that everyone has their differences, but those differences are something to acknowledge, and they're not a reason to hate each other for. No one can change anything on their own, and one group of people's problems should be everybody's problems. So like police brutality is not just like a problem for Black people. It's a human rights issue, and since we're all human, we all should be paying attention to it. And sometimes poetry, they use words that are difficult to portray through Bharatanatyam, and I felt like A Brave and Startling Truth not only was a way for me to show the problem, was a way to illustrate the solution, but also it just kind of fit with the dance style as well. And it's a beautiful poem.
That's very nice. How long have you been learning Bharatanatyam?
I've been learning Bharatanatyam for about 8 years now.
Wow, that's very long. Why did you choose Bharatanatyam to express this poem?
So the dance form that I have the most interest in and experience in, I would say, and it is a storytelling form of dance. It was meant to tell the stories of gods and goddesses centuries ago, and now a lot of dancers have found that because it portrays emotion so well, you can use that to your advantage. Use it for different types of scenarios and topics like this one. A lot of different dancers have taken Bharatanatyam and used it to talk about depression, to talk about the environment, to talk about all these different topics that are super important because of that emotion, because it forces people to associate themselves with that topic.
Yeah, Bharatanatyam does express emotions very well. Have you used Bharatanatyam to express important topics before, and if so, what topics?
Yeah, the first one I did, I think it was last year. I did a dance for International Women's Day, also with one of Maya Angelou's poems. It was called Phenomenal Woman, and it was basically saying, like, I'm phenomenal because of the way I walk, because of the way I look. Like, I'm a phenomenal woman. My mom was a phenomenal woman. My grandmother was a phenomenal woman. We are all phenomenal women. And I absolutely love that poem. So that was the first one I did. And then for my school's talent show last year, I had done a piece on the environment. So it started off talking about how the environment portrays or pertains to our everyday life, how it connects with our five senses, how beautiful it is. And then the second half, I was portraying like a world where the environment is completely damaged. So yeah, those are the two that I've done before.
That's great. It was nice to have you, Darshini. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
We, this people, on a small and lonely planet, traveling through casual space, past aloof stars, across the way of indifferent suns, to a destination where all signs tell us it is possible and imperative that we learn a brave and startling truth. When we come to it, when the curtain falls on the minstrel show of hate, and faces sooted with scorn are scrubbed clean, when battlefields and coliseum no longer rake our unique and particular sons and daughters, up with the bruised and bloody grass to lie in identical plots in foreign soil. When the rapacious storming of the churches, the screaming racket in the temples have ceased, when the pennants are waving gaily, stoutly, in the good, clean breeze. When we come to it, when we let the rifles fall from our shoulders, and children dress their dolls in flags of truce, when landmines of death have been removed, and the aged can walk into evenings of peace, when religious ritual is not perfumed by the incense of burning flesh, and childhood dreams are not kicked awake by nightmares of abuse. When we come to it, we, this people, on this minuscule and kitless globe, who reach daily for the bomb, the blade, and the dagger, yet who petition in the dark for tokens of peace. We, this people, on this mote of matter, in whose mouths abide cankerous words, which challenge our very existence. Yet out of those same mouths come songs of such exquisite sweetness that the heart falters in its labor and the body is quieted into awe. We, this people, on this small and drifting planet, whose hands can strike with such abandon that in a twinkling, life is sapped from the living. Yet those same hands can touch with such healing, irresistible tenderness. Out of such chaos, of such contradiction, we learn that we are neither devils nor divines. When we come to it, we, this people, on this wayward, floating body, created on this earth, of this earth, have the power to fashion for this earth a climate where every man and every woman can live freely without sanctimonious piety, without crippling fear. When we come to it, we must confess that we are the possible, we are the miraculous, the true wonder of this world. That is, when and only when we come to it.